Attention, everybody. The views expressed on this show, Brighter Living Live, are not necessarily the views of those expressed. I'm sorry, let me start that over. The views expressed on the show are not necessarily those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and or their subordinate or affiliate. I just, I can't do it. I just couldn't remember. The views expressed on the show are not necessarily those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and or their affiliate and subordinate ministries and or nonprofits. So without any further ado, it's that man with the plan to pray for the land, Steve Mickey Mac McAllister.
Thank you. Good morning, Facebook, land, and X Radio, and Twitter, all those fun social media platforms.
That's pretty cool.
I've got a great show for you lined up. One of my guests could not make it. I'm not sure what happened, but I've got a lot to share with you, including an update on my medical condition and Branson due to the coronavirus. And with me is...
Our country is in serious trouble.
Wow. Sorry, that was really loud.
Seriously loud.
Yeah, it's in serious trouble.
Easy,
it really
President
is.
Trump. Easy. Calm down.
All right, that was an app.
Yes.
That was not a clip from a news briefing that we
I
recently
didn't
had.
think so, and that would be Matt Pearson,
You're introducing your guest.
my ever loving brother who is my director. And then over across from me, that man who is like a bird.
A rooster.
A rooster, yeah.
He is like a bird, yeah. Rooster.
Yeah,
Roosters are like birds.
Sounds like a...
China.
It doesn't sound like China, but
Acts
anyway,
like a... Not a duck.
This is Johnny Rooster.
Johnny Rooster.
And then to my right, none other than Mr. J. For sizzle, however you say it.
J Dizzle for shizzle.
For sizzle. Cobb.
That means J for sure.
I liked what Jay said. He said they named a letter of the alphabet after him.
Yeah, you may have heard of
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I watched that video
was
again the
great.
other day.
Kevin Sorbo was like,
It was awesome. He was like,
It was. And
yeah, I heard that.
I got to read the whole
I
message to you
dated a
off
K,
air.
he said.
Okay,
You
yeah,
must
I
have
want
been pretty
to
close.
read that message.
By the way, I've got to tell you.
because it
that-
won't be
and
the
I-
last
and I-
time we speak to Kevin Sorbo.
No,
If I was a
and-
little quicker after that, I would have. When he said I had a girl, I dated a K. You must have been pretty close. I should have said, well, only in grade school.
Sorry.
JK.
Because after that, they're never together.
Folks,
J and K.
you've got. I wish you could have. If you hadn't seen the interview
Kevin
with
Sorbo interview.
with Kevin Sorbo with Matt and Jay, you have to.
You were
go
there
on-
too.
Well, myself, but you have to go back onto X Media and go back to view that interview. It was.
You were cheesing ear to ear, by the way. You were just like,
We didn't get
Photo
any of
op.
our faces on there, just Kevin Sorbo,
Photo op.
Oh yeah, that was.
which is good because he's better looking than us
and he's taller.
and taller.
And his son, who portrayed at the very beginning of the movie, or was in the movie, he's like 6 foot something now. He's
Taller
6'3".
than his dad, yeah.
He's 6'3", from what I
no,
understand.
6'5".
6'5".
He's growing.
And his son, and he is 6 foot. What is it? No, it's like, yeah, he's 6'5", and then Kevin Sorbo is 6'3".
Yes.
So he said, I'm jealous of that.
And
Yeah.
so that he did say that. So, but you have to see the movie. What was it? Miracle down on East.
Miracle in East Texas.
Miracle in East Texas.
And we do have permission to mention that.
Yes.
Yes, that's why.
Check it out.
That's why I went ahead and said that, because we did get permission. And
Well, our viewership is growing quite a bit.
I was captured right away by the beginning of the movie, and we saw, 15 minutes of it?
Probably, 15, 20 minutes.
I was going to say 15, 20 minutes.
Brilliant.
But see,
done.
even though we caught we saw the beginning of it, we saw the end of it, but right in the middle, while we're interviewing him, it was playing above Kevin as
So
we
it's
were
kinda
interviewing.
hard to hear our
So
questions.
if you couldn't hear the questions, it was because the movie was playing above them. For those people who could not get inside
It's
the
Kevin
actual
Sorbo's
sanctuary
fault.
to see the movie, they had an overflow section to where you could see the movie if you couldn't get in, and that's what you heard was the movie playing above Kevin Sorbo.
At one point, he's like, "What are they laughing at?" And he looked
Regardless,
up
you guys, your audience is growing, and president of your company, Jim Whining, he was talking about that yesterday. Some very significant number increases.
Yes.
Yes.
You guys may not even realize the full impact. But
No, he
Kevin
says-
Sorbo is one factor. There's many others.
The bald knobbers.
The bald knobbers shot the listenership, viewership.
Yeah.
up,
I don't know
up,
if
up.
Brian Duncan did, but last week that was quite a show, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I got to sing a couple bars of "In the Garden" with Dan Prater.
Hey, let's not neglect to give credit to the
God.
coronavirus.
Oh no, not just
And to the Lord God.
Lord God Almighty
There you go.
is more important to
He's
me.
what's kept us steady
Yes,
in growth.
we have since we picked this up back.
Welcome
in
to the
2000
Morning Drive Part 2.
Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
Go, Steve. Go.
We have a tendency of our mouths
Hey,
No, it's
overriding. our
across
feet.
the board. It's across the board, the growth.
Yeah,
You know, I love doing it. I'm teasing you guys.
Though Tony Hammock's show, the new gold standard, shot way up from
you
its
know what else
original
shot
viewer.
way up? The Veterans Church.
Veterans Church too.
Wow,
yeah.
really?
They
I
had
mean,
over,
I'm glad
they had
that
over
it did. I'm not
1,500 reached the other day.
1,500.
Yeah.
Wow.
People are watching. People are listening. They want to know what you have to say about your testimony too, Steve.
Yes.
Yes, so let's
How
hear
are
it.
we going to live
Seriously.
brighter?
Your testimony.
Thank you, Johnny.
You said there was a
He was
testimony.
telling about it
that you were
off
gonna
air.
share.
What were you saying?
Yeah, people
about
were
that?
wanting
Yeah.
to.
Tell us.
I just thought maybe I was enjoying your conversations, actually.
Yeah.
Well, whenever your guests and it's justifiably so. I mean, we understand they don't want to be out in public. A lot of people don't want to be out in public. I didn't
Who?
even want to have to go to the grocery store. Well, I mean, if they can't make it here,
Right.
like we were getting on the elevator. I should have just waited for the next elevator, because that guy he was coughing as the door opened. He was coughing
Hello.
without his hand, and we walked right into it.
Well,
I mean, you noticed that, didn't you? That was
I don't know how long it lingers in the air, and I think it's the temperature of it it's very so
nobody knows. That's a problem.
it's a very difficult to manage in the body. It's highly contagious, and I think that depends very much on proximity. Its body temperature, the actual flu itself, the bug itself's body temperature can't be maintained below a certain rate for very long and
So we
survive.
should live in freezers, is what you're saying.
No, I'm saying that at normal room temperature, I think it's below its natural range.
So it
of-
doesn't live very long.
It doesn't live very long outside the body. So, which is good news, Well, I mean, if
Steve is our
it's-
host today.
Yeah. So what's up, Steve?
You have no room to talk. The first time we were on his show, he didn't get a word in edgewise.
that's true. At least I'm saying more words this time. No, seriously, I'm glad everybody's together, and we're all one big happy family. Well, we try to be happy.
Dysfunctional.
Yeah, and then I come in and
No,
kick the
don't.
leg out of the stool.
Nah, don't put yourself in that.
So,
you're not
but
the
I'm
wet
wondering,
paper towel.
how are we going to live brighter today, Steve?
How have you been living brighter, Steve?
Yeah.
Lately, it's been dim, but hey, there's still a light at the end of the tunnel.
And how's that?
Well, I really wanted to say, first of all, for those people who are watching that are living in Branson, already know the situation, what's going on, but people that don't live in Branson don't know the situation. So I'm just going to give you a quick update, what I do know. The Dixie, or I should say Stampede.
Dixie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dump.
Well,
there we go.
so this is a public announcement. He said they're officially. Actually, I'm trying to think of the best way we can do this. Where did you find out about all the closings in Branson?
Actually, on social media, Facebook, but it came from a source from the city itself, Branson City.
Okay.
Branson Chamber of Commerce. Check out the
Okay.
Branson Chamber of Commerce to find out what shows are still airing or
Open.
Yeah. Now, Andy Williams, the theater is not opening up till March 28th. And but there are some shows, just like I said, rather than me trying to go through a list and goofing things up, but I'm just telling you what I do know. So the Stampede's not opening up till the end of the month, and most
So they've delayed their opening?
yes they
None of them are open anyway.
actually they opened up for about 3 days, I think, and
wow.
And then shut down. So just assume that probably all of Branson is going to be shut down for
Yeah,
a few
no,
weeks.
Well, I
Chick-
don't know. People who have already made that their destination or are there
Well,
now
and
can check the
tickets,
Springfield
if you do
Chamber. I
have
mean, the Branson Chamber of Commerce.
right. And
Don't
if
they?
you do have tickets, some of the check
Hi,
with your
Kat.
check with the theater,
They
but I
will
think
honor
they're
them.
honoring those tickets.
Hey, Greg.
Oh, they have to. I mean, if
Yeah,
if
it's
they're
not-
shutting down, they have to honor them
right,
or refund them.
or
right.
claim bankruptcy.
Well, we don't want that.
No.
Anyway, don't.
They've been through
but
a lot of crap. Those guys.
Of course,
out
a lot. There's a lot
What?
of. There's New York is
Branson's
shutting
been
down
hit
the
hard.
restaurants and bars. As of 9 o'clock Sunday night, all of New York's bars and restaurants are shutting, or Ohio, I mean. And then Arkansas is shutting down all the schools, and so there's just across the board. We really need to pray for those people that are affected, especially those who are working in Branson, working in the entertainment industry. They're being affected. Their families are being affected. So we just need to continue to pray for them. And so hopefully this won't last too long. And God's in charge. He's large and in charge.
Yeah.
the
so-
biggest.
Yes.
So you have a testimony.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring. Thank you, folks, for those of you who have been praying for me. I really appreciate it. It's been a struggle the last few days, a week. I ended up having a mini stroke last Thursday, and I was at the doctor's office with just what Rachel and I thought was we didn't think anything about the coronavirus. That wasn't it. I'd had these chronic migraines coming back. And it might be stress related. I don't know. They didn't say. But with the headaches that I was having, Rachel said, well, rather than go to the ER, why don't we go to the doctor's office and find out what's going on first before we go to the ER? So long story short of that, we got to the doctor's about 3 o'clock, and the nurse practitioner came in who used to work with one of the ambulance companies, or the ambulance company that came and got me. Said, you don't look good. I think we better check you out. So she checked me out and did some tests, and she said, we need to call an ambulance right now because I think you're going into a mini stroke. And so as soon as I got into the ambulance, sure enough,
Morning, John Morris.
they called what they call a stroke alert in the ambulance, and they called it in, and sure enough, that's what happened. I had a mini stroke along with the headache that I was having. I did end up having a migraine, or what do you call it? Cluster migraine,
Cluster headache.
cluster. They call it cluster headache, cluster migraine, and so that put me over the edge as far as being out. And I was just so unaware. In fact, I didn't even know what day it was. Didn't know the year. Didn't know the month. And so they went through the whole thing, and poor Rachel, God bless you, honey. She had to go through this with me, and the last time I went through this, it ended up having my whole all my glands shut down completely, and I was a zombie, and I could not eat, could not feed myself for 3 months, and Rachel had to do all that, and so that's what I thought was happening.
I have
again.
never been in a position like that, and I can only imagine how it would be tragic. But I mentioned that little phrase, I can only imagine. You told me about a song that you like, you feel comfort from.
Oh, the skit, yeah, the skit
Yeah.
the drama that I do, and I do that drama on
Yeah.
purpose because I've been through it myself, not as the character that I play in that drama, but being close to that where I was a zombie and I couldn't feed myself, and I was in a wheelchair for 3 months.
What's the name of this drama?
It's actually I haven't really come up with the name of it, but it's with I Can Only Imagine, with the song I Can Only Imagine.
Now,
Have you performed it already?
Yes, I
Okay.
performed it on the Kevin Shorey show.
Oh, okay.
And he gave me permission to say
What's
that.
it about?
So, basically, I'm daydreaming. I'm a veteran. I'm a veteran in real life, but I'm a veteran sitting
and
in
it's
a
on an
wheelchair.
adult show?
Pardon?
It's on an adult show?
No.
Oh.
No, I'm in a rest home in a wheelchair, and I'm daydreaming. I started daydreaming about one day coming before the Lord and being healed and asking, or the Lord healing me. So what I do is I'm kind of like in a crippled up state, and then as the song progresses, I start coming alive. My hands and everything, I start coming alive, and I kind of lip sync it. You know, that lip sync battle that they have. Well, I lip sync the song, and as the song grows stronger, I jump out, or I don't jump out. I come leaping out of the wheelchair. I'm happy. I'm praising the Lord, and then at the end of the song, I kind of go back into my wheelchair and go back into that state that I was in, back to where I was, just because I was daydreaming of one day being healed.
That sounds pretty heavy.
It was an award-winning drama through the Country Gospel Music Association. It was the #1 drama. It was a national drama that I'd won.
So did you
international.
travel to different,
Yes.
presented at different locations?
Yes.
Are you
And-
continuing to do that?
Yes. In fact, I just got a word that I'll be in Comanche, Texas, June 27th, doing that at a cowboy church.
Are there others involved in the drama with you, or is
Yes, my wife actually plays the nurse, and I had a gentleman, Troy. You know who Troy is. He actually, my wife couldn't make it, so he ended up as my nurse. But that's the only person in it, and then she leaves, and then that's when I perform my drama, and that's how it ends. But you know, I do that drama because there's a lot of people out there in wheelchairs or who are disabled who don't have any hope, and I just want them to know that there is hope, that God is the great physician. And with my drama and with what's going on with me, right now, I know that He's in charge and He's going to heal me, and I'm going to be complete. And just like you said, Matt, God's got this. And for a while there, I would say in the last week or two, especially the last week, I was down on myself. And I couldn't help it, but I was down on myself. It's not that I didn't think anybody cared, but, my parents, and I'm going to go into my testimony here in a little bit, but my mom was always a prayer warrior. My sisters, they were the prayer warriors. They really were praying for me because when I was a little kid, I was going through so much drama, and I was abused, verbally,
Wow.
physically, and I never got away from it. I was always, whether it was school, home, and even church. Believe it or not, folks, there is abuse going on in church, and sometimes it's hidden, whether it's a family issue, and then you go to church. That's the only place that you should be a haven, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as a 3rd and 4th grader, when you go in and you have it at school, you expect to go to church and feel loved. And when you don't feel that love, and it feels like an ice cold, like a walk-in freezer, that's why I ended up leaving after I graduated from high school. I ended up leaving the church, not leaving the church, I should say, leaving the church that I was going to, and going to another place, or going to another church where I felt like maybe I was loved. And so, growing up, I actually have cerebral palsy. A lot of people don't know that I do, but I do. It's mild case because I have one leg shorter than the other. And so I didn't walk until I was a year old. And so growing up, I was trying to be the best that I could be, obviously as a little kid. And so my parents took me to the Jack Van Impe crusade. Bless his soul. He's gone now, the late
Now,
Jack.
cerebral palsy, that's a brain injury caused by
Trauma?
trauma during birth.
Right. From what my mom told me, she said that the doctor actually had what do you call it? I don't want to say
Forceps.
forceps. Thank you. Actually took the forceps and actually put pressure on my head as he was pulling me out.
Yeah,
And so
that's what it's normally caused by.
and so the birth defect was actually one leg shorter than the other, and so I couldn't walk until I was a year old. And they say that most kids don't walk until you're a year old, but I had that problem. Of course, I had that problem with drooling as well. And the drooling was these absent seizures. Well, I didn't know about seizures until obviously I was old enough. But apparently I was having these absent seizures, and then even through high school or elementary school, I was having these problems. I was having drooling problems. I was smacking my lips when I would eat. I couldn't help all that. And when the psychologist came in and talked to my parents, he wanted to examine me. Well, that's when the all the fun, making fun of me things started at school. And
children are ruthless.
yes, they can be. I mean, especially nowadays, man, that what happened back then was nothing compared to what's going on today with the bullying. And I didn't even know what the word bullying was back then. You know, I was in third, fourth grade, and I just knew that the kids were picking on me. So, and it was because they saw this guy talking to me, and they saw the blocks, and you know, they go through that psychological testing, and so they held my mom. Dad held me back only because they wanted to make sure that I was okay. Well, that's where it got worse as far as making fun of me. Well, then I went through the whole junior high. You know, it got better, and of course, I went to a special ed room. I was too smart for that, so they put me in a learning disabled room where I could take tests and stuff. Well, as that grew on, I got out of that. I got out of the. I started. I mean, actually, I was going D's and F's in school to the point where I was breaking down on my dad. He didn't show any love. He had his own way of showing love. He would say, "What are you drawing why is your mouth open? Why are you drooling? Wipe your mouth." Nobody knew what was going on until after I got out of junior high and high school. That's when the real problem started. That's when I started having seizures. And then they diagnosed me with having the seizure disorder. Of course, back when I was a little kid, the neurologist is saying I'm mentally retarded. Well, obviously I'm not. But at that time, as a little kid, that's how he diagnosed me. And he put me on all kinds of medication that I didn't need to be on.
I think a lot of our listeners and viewers right now are really identifying with the pain that you're talking about, Steve. And it just impresses me that you're able to talk about it. There's so much heaviness and shame that can be associated with that. How did you get free from feelings of inferiority?
God was really the support from my mother, the support from my family, and you know, I didn't really. I just thought my dad was picking on me. There was a long history behind him alone that I had no idea that was going on until after he passed. Then I started putting two and two together. I actually wet the bed until I was in 7th grade. And
Yeah, and seventh graders get a hold of any of that kind of information.
yeah, well, I was in 6th grade. I went to 6th grade camp, and nobody really knew. My teacher was the only one that talked to my mom and dad and knew the situation. So he'd come and get me, wake me up, take me to the bathroom, come back.
Yeah.
But there was only one time that I ever had an accident while I was there, and he was very quiet about it. And only 2 or 3 of my best friends really knew the situation, but kept it quiet, and I really appreciate that. But anyway, I think all in all, as I grew older, my sisters looked into it, and they found out that I was having PTSD
Yeah.
because of the stress from my dad, the stress from all the kids beating up on me, and it just got to the point where my body fell apart. And so actually I stopped at 7th grade as far as wetting the bed. But that was all due to the PTSD.
Jim Wanning said he was delivered with forceps, and your story fits many autistic children.
So that's why autism, Dr. Jim, means so much to me, because I know friends who have kids who are autistic, there's an entertainer in Branson whose son is autistic, and he is too. But a lot of people don't know that. But his son, you wouldn't know it. Maybe you would. You have to really look, I guess, deep into that, to understand autistic, and that's why, Dr. Jim, I'd like to have you come on and talk about autism, because we need to let people know, if they don't already know, about autism awareness. So as time went on, I got married with my first wife, and she was 19. I met her actually when she was 16. I met her when I was living in Florida, and she had an abuse problem herself, and I had no idea. She told me, well, it got worse and she let that all out on me. So there again, I was abused even by my own first wife. And it just got worse, and to the point where she actually threw detergent in my face and my eyes. Because she reacted to something that I had said, and I didn't mean it like it, but she reacted that way, and so that's why I felt like, man, what's going on? Lord, is there a reason why I'm being abused like this? Is there a reason why? I just couldn't understand why I was being abused, and I never let down my guard. I mean, I never said, Lord, why me? Or I did say that, but I never got angry at God. Most people would say, well, why didn't you get mad at God? There's no reason to get mad at God. My mom, God, first of all, my mom were the prayer warriors. They were the ones that were helping me through all this. And then when I got into the Navy, after I left my first wife, I got into the Navy, and I figured, hey, I got to get involved in the military, do something.
I'm impressed that you were approved medically for the Navy.
Well, see, here's the thing. I didn't know I had cerebral palsy until 8
Don't ask,
months.
don't tell.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's it. But 9 months after I was in, that's when, after I got through boot camp, I actually went through boot camp with cerebral palsy.
Wow.
And I graduated. It was tough. It was,
Wow.
but I had the company commanders. They knew what the situation was. They didn't know I had cerebral palsy. I didn't know it, but they just knew there was something up. And rather than take me out, they said, we want to support you because you're putting forth the effort to be
Wow.
here. And so I had some of the guys help me out and everything. And they didn't hold my hand. I did not. I felt like I skated through, but no, they did not hold my hand. But I did have the strength from the Lord to get me through. So then as I'm graduating boot camp and I'm finding out after I get on the ship, which is the USS Waddell, I find out through the examinations at the hospital after I was told that, hey, there's something wrong. He comes back and tells me April of '88, well, son, you have cerebral palsy. Did your doctors ever tell you that? I'm like, cerebral palsy? What? And so they had no plans for me. It was peacetime, so they had no room for me. And they said, well, you've got a choice. Well, we can't really use you, so bye-bye. And of course, I have no benefits whatsoever because I'd signed a waiver saying that I would not come back on the Navy to say.
So you got an honorable discharge.
I got
but
an
you
honorable
didn't have any
discharge.
benefits.
No, with no benefits because it existed prior to entry. Cerebral palsy is like you said, is a birth defect, but because I had that cerebral palsy, that X'd me out of having any benefits from the military.
How long were you in?
Probably a year, almost a year and a half.
What about now?
Well, it's been what as far as
Do you see do you go to the VA?
So you don't have benefits like that.
So pray for Rachel and I because a lot of because of all the things that are going on with me currently, bills are stacking up, and because I don't have help from the VA officially, there's nothing I can do until
You're an unrecognized veteran
right. Basically, if you want to put it that way.
How do they get away with that?
because of an existing condition that he didn't know about.
Well, then
Yep.
how'd they let him in to begin with and take a year and a half of his
They can
life?
say
Because
they didn't know.
the medical, what do they call them again?
Medical waiver.
The
I thought there was
um,
screening. Isn't
the
it basic?
MS.
MEPS?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
MEPS.
MEPS, thank you.
That's the
the
screening
MEPS, they
prior to
actually
your
screened
entry.
me in, but the funny thing was when they screened me,
Yeah.
they said you couldn't rotate your ankles, you couldn't do this, you can't do that, you
Uh-huh.
can't. But even in boot camp, those guys that were saying, well, something's wrong because you're not walking right, you're not marching right, something's wrong, but they couldn't pinpoint it,
Yeah.
So they let it go, when I shouldn't say they let it go, but there's nothing they could do, I guess.
They have very specific requirements. My son went into the Navy a year ago, and he'd had surgeries, but they didn't have to disclose. They had already reviewed him. The Marine Corps turned him down without even looking at him because of his medical record, but he had clubbed feet when he was born. But it didn't matter because once that was corrected, he could fit in the boots, and he could do the work required. They let him in the Navy.
Yeah.
And
So
he suffered more than most people, but he didn't let on. So he just went through it.
So I really, really, really suffered through. There's a lot of things in between all
Yeah.
that, but I'm just kind of bringing bullet points here.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to, but that's part of my testimony. Well, then, as you know, Johnny, when you're in the military and you're down on yourself and things are going on,
Yeah.
you start doing things that you shouldn't, saying things that you shouldn't, and my mom and dad never knew this, but I ended up going to Tijuana.
Tijuana.
And
Party Central.
yep, exactly. And
How old
that,
were you?
I was going on 20.
Yeah.
I guess I was 20 that year. And I started saying things, and even though I was going to church,
Sure.
I was a church person, and I thought I was saved because I did, in between the kid and an adult, I was in Vacation Bible School helping out and things like that. Well, come to find out that I really wasn't sure, and so this evangelist from California, he was there doing a revival,
In Tijuana?
and not in Tijuana,
In Tijuana?
Tijuana.
Tijuana. I've heard people call it Tijuana.
Tijuana. I never
Tijuana.
heard that. I just heard
Tijuana.
TJ. I just heard TJ, and short for Tijuana. But anyway, so he was
Maybe
talking to
Tijuana.
he got into about the third day, and he said, there's somebody here that really needs the Lord, and he's suffering. And I just have this feeling that he's here tonight, and he needs the Lord. And are you guys playing footsies under there?
No, he's kicking the table on accident because he's a foot mover.
No. So when he actually said, for those people that need to look up at me, I need you to look up at me right now. And I want you to tell me, if you die today, do you know 100% sure you died and go to heaven? I was scared to death. So I kind of looked up at him, and there was a few people, and he looked at me and he said, son, if you were to die today, do you know 100% sure that you go to heaven? And I just looked at him and stared, and I went, I'm not sure, because of how bad I was acting, saying things I shouldn't. I was getting to the point where I was like, I didn't care. So he nailed me on it. God sent him to tell me that I really needed him. So that's how I got truly saved. Even though I was with Jack Van Impe and I was a kid, went forward. I was 5 years old at the time. I just went forward. Nobody really talked to me. This time it was a lot different, and so I was baptized actually that night too as well, and I wanted to. And so that's how my kids ministry, Captain Bible, which folks, pretty soon I'm going to be doing a kids segment with that particular character, and so with that, I just really felt like God had his hand on me the whole time. It's just that I was ready to actually melt and come to him and ask God, say, you know what, please forgive me. So at that point, I got saved, got baptized, and then from that point on, I started my ministry. And I've been in the ministry now for 25 years, something like that. 25, 30 years, and I've enjoyed it. And Rachel, I love you, and she's actually been there through this whole ordeal the last few years, and since I got diagnosed with cerebral palsy. She knew about it after we got married, or before we got married, and so she's been with me. And like I said, I was a zombie a few times, and just she was there. And my sisters, I don't know if my sister Kathy's watching. She usually pops on and watches, and she saw me go through this. And I love you, and love my sister Claudia. They were the ones they were my support group after my dad died. It was kind of, and I hate to say it this way, but it kind of because of the way he was treating me. He treated everybody this kind of the same way. He didn't talk to him for years on end, and for whatever reason, he was just ornery. He was narcissistic, I guess. And so I just left a lot of things out that I didn't really need to air. I can tell you.
Yeah.
I can tell you guys off air, but I just really hope to let you know, folks, that God loves you. He's large and in charge, and that whatever you're going through, He is going to make you have a brighter day. On not just a day, but brighter days are coming ahead. And with all
Every day.
and with all this coronavirus thing going on, just pray and ask God to strengthen everyone and just help one another. Help the elderly. Pray for the elderly, and if you've got elderly relatives, check on them. And it's been tough for me to do this, but I told Rachel, I said, I really need to do this today because people don't really know me that have watched my show. They really don't know me, and some people that went to school with me.
This is the first time we've heard it.
Yeah, I've been sitting here just amazed at how much you've gone through, but it's just another testimony of how much God gives grace to any
How He
situation.
pulls people through.
There is nothing too great for God.
Yeah, and so I just want to reassure people that too that just get away before I forget that just rather than me tell you about Branson's what's going on with Branson, I would just go ahead and tell you just look up Branson Visitors Convention Bureau, explore Branson.com and get your information because at this point I don't think I can really say anymore. I just I'm overwhelmed because people out there just don't realize that when people are going through an abuse situation, all kinds of things can happen. You know, PTSD, like these stress headaches. I actually was going through these seizures, epileptic type seizures, where Rachel had to save my life twice. She actually saw me die, or just about died. She saw me turning blue.
It's man.
So I love you, honey.
Well, we love you here.
There's a lot that you've been through that a lot of us don't relate to, and yet that's just so telling about how God can just sustain somebody and give you that kind of presence because you're at peace. I can see that in your life.
And so since I've been with X Media, and of course, Dr. Paul, I've known him I've known him 8 years, known Dr. Jim probably 7.
And known us, I mean, we actually really, I mean, we were at the same events together.
Right.
And we shook hands and stuff like that. And you started this past year coming on our shows, and now you're a fixture up here.
Just like that green plant behind you, you're a fixture.
Yes,
Yeah.
Hey, and it's looking really healthy now.
You know,
Probably need some water.
probably
A little bit of drought going on the tips.
It does look droopy, but it looks a lot better than it did.
No. It's
There is
fine.
life at the top, though. There's a white.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I watered it Friday.
It's made it this far.
Why didn't you water that one?
It's perseverance.
I knew. I
perfect.
actually
It was
poured
bullied.
sand in it.
It
you
was
know, that's-
bullied.
The plant was
chop up
going
cardboard.
through a little hard time.
Yeah.
You have to, but I just appreciate you guys.
Come
and
spring, we're going to replace these with some other plants, and that one there is going to go somewhere.
somewhere, meaning
Somewhere
Over there where the
out there.
fake one is.
And I'm going to get
there's-
some stuff to make
There's
them level,
fake
make them
news
even.
and there's real news. There's
That's
fake
right.
and there's real. And you're sitting by the fake.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
you're not
apropos.
saying he's fake. You're just
I
saying
don't
the
No, I'm
plant's
just
fake.
saying he's sitting by the fake.
No, I prefer pretend American. You know, that's
Pretentious.
Yeah.
pretentious. Is that what? Yeah.
But it does look good. It looks very green.
You know, whenever the cameras didn't have as high definition, you know, see how that's got
Can
a
you
white
folks
flower on it?
watching, can you tell which
We
one
had-
is the real and the non-real?
We had I had put a piece of notebook paper and folded it to kind of look like they both had flowers on them.
Yeah,
You tried.
But then whenever we got the really good camera,
Then
and
it
all of a
showed
sudden
the shadow.
it's like
didn't
high
it?
real.
definition. And it's like, oh well,
is it live or is it?
It was pen and paper.
that's fake.
Yeah. You had to blow it, didn't you?
It was pen and paper to look just like a.
Yes,
Yeah.
The illusion is busted right here at
Yep.
ATN.
you've heard it here first, folks.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you.
But thank you for sharing your story too.
Yeah, I
Because
hope
we
I didn't-
we didn't even know that.
No, that's.
I
that's
hope I didn't ramble on.
The
Hope I
only
didn't
thing I
ramble
can
on, folks.
identify on that with is as far as the bullying is concerned, that's really tough. Because kids whenever they get a hold of something that they know affects you and makes their friends laugh, it's
They
like
push the button.
it's like blood in the water when you're around sharks, and it's a frenzy.
The only
I-
thing
I-
you hadn't told me before was the cerebral palsy.
Pardon?
The only thing you hadn't told me before was the cerebral palsy.
Right.
You have come through
I
a
didn't realize.
lot.
Yeah, and there's so much that I left out that I didn't need to share that I think people got the gist of what I was trying to say and how I was trying to say it.
What do you want to say to people that are struggling right now, physically or emotionally?
Or spiritually.
That you need to reach out to your pastor, rabbi, whoever you have, whether it's a temple. You just need to reach out to them and just say, I need to talk to you, and make an appointment and sit down and tell them your story. And then they should listen to you, and they'll pray with you, or reach out to a family member. If you've got a family member that you know that's close to you, reach out to them. Mom and dad might not ever be available, brother, sister, even mom and dad. I don't know, but just reach out to somebody.
Telling your story, not hiding it, not keeping it into
Right.
yourself. It has a release factor. There's something about that brings healing.
Right. And when you tell your story, you do have a sense of healing.
You came to the Lord, and you've also, like you said, you started your ministry shortly after that.
shortly after
So
that.
you came to the Lord, and then you went into a ministry serving other people.
There must have
I
been
think
an
those are the
incredible
two
release.
keys. A lot of times we can find criticism and humiliation with people that we know, taking to them, telling our story. And although I think you should do that, I think it's more important to go to the Lord, read the Word of God, understand who He is and His character, understand what you are to Him, how much He loves you and wants you, and what He's gone through to get you. Because He went through more than we did to get us. And to be with us, and we can turn our hearts towards the Lord, but then also it's being in service to the Lord, which means serving others. And one thing about serving others is no matter what your troubles are, you start to see that you're not alone,
But
and
I
that
do-
other people have troubles.
I do echo what you're saying about bringing it to light. That does help with in confidence with somebody.
Yeah.
Right.
That does give you a kind of a spiritual release to do
Yeah.
something.
So
instead of
tell
hide.
your story.
And keep
to,
trying, because it takes time sometimes to find the right person.
Right.
Sometimes you
You're
share
true.
with somebody
You
and it
wouldn't
turns
wanna
out to be
share
the
with
wrong
people
person.
That would be a
That
breach of
person can
confidence.
twist
Right.
things around and make it look bad for you and say, oh,
Yeah.
and then that's when it's bad. So you got to, folks, you got to be
Overcome
careful
those
who
things.
you do.
Be the
You're
kind of
right. You
person
got to
that-
be careful who you. That's why I said you got to go to a pastor, somebody you know you can confide
Somebody who's
in.
bound by law
or
to
what was
not
that?
speak. To somebody who's bound by law
Right.
and creed to not say anything to anybody. There has to be confidence that
And of
they won't
course-
spread it to anybody.
Of course, you want to put confidence in your parents or your brother or sister, aunt, uncle.
But sometimes
But
that's not.
sometimes that's not the
that-
right one.
I
Yeah.
would be able to say there's a friend of mine from the past that I definitely would trust with any information. I would love for us, in fact, myself, to be that kind of person. That's a very good trait to have, is to be trustworthy.
But wouldn't you say there are people you would call friends and acquaintances that you
Oh,
wouldn't share?
absolutely, absolutely. That's why I'm saying
Even
I know-
family members.
of course, and that's why I
Right.
can know one person that I totally would trust with any information, but it's not a family
It's
member.
important that you build a relationship,
Yes.
a true relationship
Yes.
with, whether it's a pastor, whether it's your girlfriend. Now, that when I had girlfriends, I was very careful about what I said to them when what I was going through. Some people or some girls knew about it. Like one of the girls that I did have a girlfriend. I was in 6th grade. She lived in the neighborhood. She knew about my dad. She knew how he was acting towards me, and in fact, it got to the point where, and I already talked to my sister about this, and I was allowed. I'm going to go ahead and say this. I never knew how abusive my dad really was. I mean, when he said, "Oh, shut your mouth," clean your mouth, wipe your mouth, you're drooling. I thought, okay, that's really mean. Well, it got to the point where one day he was mad at my sister for some reason, and he said, I'm not going to talk to her, and nobody's going to talk to her. Well, I didn't think about it. Well, I called her on the phone, and my dad was sharpening his lawnmower blade. And so I'm on the phone to her, and and I guess I was on the phone or something, and all of a sudden I hear this boom, 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 boom come through the house. The door swung open. He actually had the lawnmower blade, swung it open, and he took a piece out of the wood, and he put that phone down. You know, I heard you're talking to your sister. Put the phone down, or threw it down actually, because I was scared. Put my hands behind my back, and he goes, "Don't you put your hands behind your back." Well, I did anyway, and of course he damaged my TV and actually he picked up the phone, threw it against TV, smashed TV, and he cut my hand open to where I thought I lost my hand. And he actually got me, sliced my hand, and I was scared. I mean, I was crying. My mom's trying to pull him off of me and screaming, and so I went to my mom. I said, Mom, look, I'm going to call the police. I'm going to call the police. And she goes, No, don't do that. You don't want your father in jail. And I said, yes, I do. You know, that was the most abusive he's ever been to me, other than verbal. There were some really horrible verbal things that he had said, but that really took the cake. When he sliced my hand open, I really thought I lost my hand.
I think there's a lot of people that are listening to this, they're in shock, and others that can relate to that story, because when you were quiet about it, sometimes that's the fear.
Yeah.
But
When you're too
I'm
quiet.
thankful that you're confident, you're able to share, and you're able to bring help to people that might need to ask for help.
Cheryl Williams says, "Thank you, Steve, for sharing
Yeah.
your story.
Seriously.
I am so glad I caught it today. It meant
Yeah.
so much."
Yes, you're helping people that you may never meet.
Well, good. I'm glad. And I knew the Lord. I
Yeah.
woke up this morning. Remember I told you guys, I said I couldn't sleep last night and I had trouble. It wasn't just the weather. I knew, and I said, Lord, you're opening up my eyes. I really
Yeah.
need to share this. And that's why I couldn't sleep. And I said, I know I'm not going to be good, or not good, but I know I'm not going to be able to sleep until I know that I'm confident enough to do this. This
See-
is the first time I've ever really on air in public
Yes.
Yeah.
in front of thousands, probably.
I
We
don't
were
know.
speechless. Him and I
Yeah.
were speechless.
No.
What does that tell you?
Yeah. See, I don't know you well. Matt does. Jay does. But even when people don't know you well, they're going to resonate with that message because you're confident enough to share it. God is speaking through you to them. There's people actually getting help now.
And I would like to say, if you are a pastor,
That's a tremendous
or
amount of
if
rage
you
and hostility.
need me to come to speak to a group of young people, a group of, especially a group of young people, I'm more than willing to do that.
What about adults too?
Oh, adults, because you know what? Adults actually are going through that as they did as a kid. There's that movie. There was a movie about some nerds, actually, that people would make fun of them, and they actually turned around and made them stand up and made people stand up at the end of this movie to actually say, hey, if you're that nerd and you've been picked on, stand up and come join me.
Wow.
And
And all the non-nerds got up and joined him.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know,
We won't mention the name of the
right,
name of the
That's
movie,
powerful,
but
though. It is powerful.
it is.
Yeah.
so that
It is.
really resonated. That movie resonated with me. I cried.
Yeah.
Actually, it was a funny movie.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
but
but
it
that-
really made sense. But I
at the
cried
end, yeah,
That's awesome.
because it reminded me of me.
Yeah.
And so,
I think your story has hit home with so many people, especially those that don't have that experience. We still need to hear it.
right.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so I'm willing to tell that story. I'm willing to tell
Thank
that
you.
story and let people know that God's on the throne and He's in charge. And I want you folks to know before we get out of here that
Yeah, go ahead. I'll give you a couple more minutes to do your
It's your show.
slow close.
Thank you. Slow crow.
The Dr. Paul slow close.
Anyway, I'm sorry I had to
I know
do that.
we love the heck out of you.
You did it
Here.
great.
So I just want to say that God's in large and in charge.
God's in large in charge.
That too. And brighter days are coming. Whether it's the coronavirus, this is just a past. What's that saying?
Passing fancy?
Passing fancy. No, not passing fancy. This too shall pass.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
This too shall pass.
Amen.
Go back
So-
and watch this if you're just tuning in. This is really something, you guys. An amazing testimony.
It's going to be blasted. I'm sure. I think we're
watch
gonna.
this one.
I think we're gonna make sure that this gets
So-
blasted out there. So
When gray skies are there, just remember, dance in the rain.
Yeah, and you know what, Steve? Thank you for your story today.
You're welcome.
Thank you for never giving up.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
Thank you for being confident when you had every reason to hide.
Yeah.
yeah.
And being
There was a lot of times I wanted to hide.
Being yourself.
yeah, to being kind and to not having that kind of hostility and rage and and letting it affect you or it's just a tremendous
honestly,
story and what
Yeah.
a tremendous
There
example.
I will say that there were times of anger, but it wasn't anger out at Rachel or any. It was anger at me. Why didn't I stand up for myself better? That was
Well,
what.
it made you who you are today,
Yeah.
and it gave you the words and the testimony for people who need it today.
Yes.
Like, I say in one of my testimonies, whenever I look back at that stuff, it was I realized it wasn't happening to me; it was happening for me and for others. And I'm glad that you took the stand, and we want to get this story out there because there are a lot of people out there that deal with not just bullies, but they bully themselves.
Right. And those that are bullies are the ones that were hurt themselves, and they just had nowhere else to go. But hey, well, I've been hurt, so now
So is
I'm
it
going to hurt somebody
easy
else.
for you to forgive and to forgive your father and
Yeah, it was hard, but I know that in his own way that's how he lashed out.
I don't mean excuse.
Right,
I mean forgive.
right.
Because there is no excuse.
When you
Because
do
there's forgive and
forgive,
forget, but you can forgive, but you can't forget in a lot
Right.
of ways.
forgiveness is for the person that is being mistreated. They definitely feel that release.
It's not for the person who did the
But
mistreating.
it's
can be-
not easy to do.
I can be. I mean, don't you think that
not
part
easy.
of what brings us to our knees before God is that somebody, somebody forgave us?
Yes.
Somebody forgiving us, that's a pretty big deal. For some people, there's no redemption.
We're
There's
out of
no
time.
restoration of relationships or their life. It's lost. Their sins have destroyed something that can't be gotten back. And then to have somebody forgive you can be
You know what?
helps you move on.
I'm going to
go
give
on.
my phone number because the Lord just said, you need to give your phone number.
Do what you're prompted to do.
417-593-3709. You can print that in if you need
Well,
to.
it's a bit late at the moment to do that.
But it's okay.
Say it again,
417-593-3709.
or Facebook message him, and he can give it to you.
Yep.
Thank you for
Or
watching.
message one of us, and we'll give it to you.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Are you? Is that your outro?
Yep. God
Thank
bless
you guys for joining us on Brighter Living Live with Steve O'Mickey Mac McAllister today. Remember, you too can also go to axmediagroup.com, check out all the stuff we have on there, and you should be able to see this show again next week on this on the website. And then also you can donate to help make this show and others like it more available to those out there who need to hear it. It's part of doing the right thing and serving where needed, and we'd like to partner up with you to do so. So go to axmediagroup.com, and you can give as little as $5. You can give as much as you want. No donation too small, no donation too large. And again, partner up with us so that we can get this stuff out there. Thanks again, Steve.
And thank you guys for hanging in there. Johnny, thank you. Matt, Jay, thank you.
All right, bye, everybody.